Hello everyone, I'm Tracy and thank you so much for being here. Today's video is very important and it's very urgent, so I wanted to get this out as soon as possible. There's a lot to unpack here, so I'm going to get through what I can, and what I'm not able to cover, I will be doing a follow-up video to this, and this way Shane can join. He was not able to make it today, and we will get into more of the details regarding the plans for this area and go over some of the similarities that this Hurricane Helene has with the tragedy in Lahaina. And yes, there are different types of catastrophes, but there are similarities, a pretty decent amount that we're finding. So I'm going to get through I'm going to get through what I can right now. I apologize for the lack of editing, but this is very urgent and there is a very, very serious situation going on. Okay, so Hurricane Helene hit Florida on the 26th. So after the hurricane hit, and as I'm talking, I'm going to show some pictures of the damage. This is Florida. This is Cedar Key. It hit land on the 26th, but the hurricane traveled north and hit the base of the Blue Ridge Mountains, and it affected that area with significant flooding, so severe that this is what you see here. I mean, I think they reported 15-foot storm surge, so things are underwater, serious damage, and over 100 people have been confirmed dead, and from what I'm hearing, over 1,000 people missing. And I'm just hearing so many horror stories. Dams and bridges are giving out. So here's one. Here's another one. And then in western North Carolina is where a town called Asheville is. And Asheville has really been hit hard. So this is the area that we're talking about. I know it might be kind of hard to see here, but let me give a little background on Asheville. Here's a Facebook post of the roads, the road closures. Now it's being compared to the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina because of the extensive damage. Only time will tell if it's going to be that bad. So there's also significant power outages in this area. So people also don't have running water. And I'm just hearing these, that there are children, wandering around looking for their parents. People are begging for water and people are getting hungry because they've run out of food by now. And it's just a really, really terrible situation. And I'm going to give a little background on this area and kind of, first of all, I'm going to show you this clip from Into Thin Air about some of the satellite images that were picked up during the hurricane.
Welcome back. We are waiting the arrival of major Category 4 Hurricane Helene. This thing is an absolute monster. But take a look at this anomaly that's shooting down almost to where we're going to see landfall. It's very interesting. I'm curious to see if this thing actually lands right on top of where we think landfall is going to be. Now there's something else kind of shooting out here underneath this layer of moisture over the southeast. It looks like it's coming from either northern Florida or a radar tower in southern Georgia. But the main one right here, look at this big beam that shoots down right to about here. That's where we're expecting landfall, give or take. So now we're going to zoom in and see exactly where this thing points to, because that is not your normal beam that you see coming from these radar. And it's definitely coming from the state of Georgia, probably underneath this mess here. It's coming this way, and there's a cross of that other beam either coming from northern Florida or southern Georgia. All right, this is about as close as we're going to get. We're going to see one anomaly over here in the western panhandle, and then we're going to look for that shot we were just looking at. We move one frame, boom, here's those weird waves that come off. We see see this a lot underneath heavy systems, especially when they're approaching the coastlines. Now we're going to look for our beam here. We're going to see it pretty well. It's right about there. So this is pretty odd. I want to know what's going on here, and there's our cross beam, again, looking like it's coming from Florida itself, so it's coming up into this direction. This one is certainly coming down from Georgia into Florida, almost to where we're seeing landfall. If we backtrack a little bit, you can see here the momentum wants to bring this storm up and then kind of right into this area here. Maybe a little north, but that's what we're seeing. But take a look at these anomalies every couple frames, specifically that one we are looking at. There's another big one right there. It's kind of a sweeper. It's got multiple beams and it sweeps left to right. And now watch as we approach. You're going to see a bunch of little ones, and then we're going to see our landfall beam. That's the only thing I can think of naming it right now. There it is. Boom, right there. So let's see how close this actually gets to where landfall takes place.
All right, so that was from Into Thin Air. I'll link that video and the channel in the description. I highly recommend going there. He has another video on this hurricane. And so I wanted to point out those wave patterns that were shown. It looks very similar to the wave patterns that were seen right before the fire in Lahaina. So I don't know exactly what that's about, but that's one of the things that we're seeing is coming up again. Something else that is similar to Lahaina is that this area so after it hit Florida, it created the flooding in the Blue Ridge Mountains, and the area of Asheville is a tourist destination. They receive 2 million visitors a year. It is an area with a very rich history, and there are a lot of historical areas and buildings in this area. I'll just name one of them. One of them is the Biltmore Estate, and a lot of people go to this area to visit the Biltmore Estate. This was built by the Vanderbilt family in the early 1900s, and at the time it was the biggest residence in the country. I don't believe it is anymore, but similar to Lahaina, a lot of visitors come to this area. It's also a very libertarian area, which makes it a little bit different from the surrounding area, which is generally conservative. And let me show you just some statements from the people that are in this area.
Power, water, roads, cell service, these things all remain issues here, though there have been some improvements in just the last 24 hours. The reason we're live right here, this Town Place Suites in Asheville off of I-240, it's because it's literally the only place our crew has been able to find reliable cell service in the city all day. For residents in the area, especially those at the Hillcrest Housing Project, days without basic services are turning dire.
Survival right now.
There's no gas to make it to stores. There's no stores open. It's cash only. The ATMs are down. But there's little babies that have nothing to drink, and we're going on 3-4 days now with no water.
It's not only months of recovery, it's years.
Gas remains scarce in the city, with lines sometimes stretching for blocks. Now, there is one other looming issue that residents are facing here. For folks who did have food in refrigerators, in freezers, that's all been eaten at this point, or it's starting to go bad. A lot of people around here now left waiting, wondering when that promised aid from the state will be showing up.
So something that is kind of common to these situations, there's no communication. So the area, people are not able to get in touch with people. And I feel like it is kind of creating a sort of media blackout because a lot of information is not being shared with the world. Something else that I thought was very interesting is that this area has a very well-planned transit corridor plan, and it's also home to a lithium deposit. So here is from the New York Times saying how there are lithium mines, and actually right here, there is a Albemarle lithium mine similar to how they have in Chile. And here's a little bit of the plan. Now there's a lot to unplug. There's a lot to go over regarding the plans, and I'll have Shane go into that because he's a lot more familiar with what these are. But you know, this is just such a this is an ongoing situation. So that's why I want to let as many people know what's going on. And FEMA has said that they are sending aid, they're airlifting supplies, but I don't have confirmation of that. This area is difficult to access because of the roads. It's a very mountainous area, and due to the flooding, the roads are not usable. So people aren't able to get out. So they're stuck there. And also goods aren't able to come in. So you heard that people, the food that they had is now going bad. And so people are running out of food, running out of water. I've seen clips of people using the flood water to flush their toilets. So it's a really dire situation from what I can tell. And I just don't have the confidence that the federal government is going to do what they need to help the people. There is a appearance from Biden and Trump that is coming up today. That's my understanding, is that they're traveling to this area. And I just expect them to give lip service about how they're going to help this area. But I do think there is a concerted effort to prevent aid from getting into this area, similar to what Maui experienced after the fire. So we're looking at a very, very serious loss of life. This community is forever changed. And this is a big area as far as population goes. There's over 91,000 people that live in the Asheville area. So if these people continue to be cut off, that is a, this is, I mean, just, I can't even like start to express how huge of a loss this is going to be if these people don't get help soon, like today. And from what I can tell, it's not really happening the way it should. All right. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm able to share today. And again, be looking out for another video later this week where Shane will be coming on and going into the redevelopment plans and what that's going to entail. There's also a push to ban short-term rentals, similar to what we see in Lahaina, which is just propaganda. There, let me see if I can pick up that thing. Okay, this is from the redevelopment site. And what they're saying is, because this is a tourist destination, there are a lot of short-term rentals. But what they're trying to do is ban this or severely limit the short-term rentals. And also, if they do have them, start to fine and charge the property owners fees. I just want to point out that this is not accurate. It says here that short-term rentals generate substantial profit for the owners, and that is, it's possible, but that's often not the case. I'll speak from my experience as having had a short-term rental. It is generally not a very profitable thing. What it does do is it could help offset the price of maintaining the property, help pay off whatever mortgage you have, or help pay for property taxes. But as far as like my experience and a lot of the other people I know, the short-term rental income oftentimes will just help maintain the property. It's generally not a good way to get rich. And a lot of times these properties are not owned by extremely wealthy people like we've been led to believe. Sometimes it's just a matter of someone owning a property, and instead of paying out of pocket for all the maintenance, the property taxes, if you short-term rent it, it could help, offset those fees and expenses. So I don't want, you know, this this message that short-term rentals are an easy way for people to make a lot of money, because it is possible, but it's often not the case. And I'll link a video if you want to hear about the lobbying group called Lahaina Strong, who is also pushing for the ban of short-term rentals. And they have passed a bill that will ban short-term rentals in the area of West Maui. I'll put that video here if you want to hear what they're saying on Maui about the short-term rental changes, and they're using that as the reason why housing is not affordable. But the lack of housing and the lack of affordable housing is not because there are short-term rentals. That problem is a much bigger problem than we've been led to believe. So I did want to make that point very clear, and we will be talking more about that topic in the next video. So I apologize for the lack of preparedness. I just wanted to make sure this message got out to as many people as possible, as soon as possible. So thank you guys all for being here, and I will see you all soon. Bye.